Who was Aleister Crowley? A genius? A madman? A murderer? A diabolical agent of Satan? Let's find out. I'm reviewing Richard Kaczynski's book, Perdurabo, The Life of Aleister Crowley this week. That and our Sunday morning spread coming right up. Kopi-Dulu friends, thank you for joining me once again this week. Brian No from Cards of Light. Glad to be with you for another episode. If you are new here, welcome. Please do subscribe to the channel so you get all of our content as it is published. And also, if everybody could give this video a like at some point as you're watching, that would be much appreciated as well. Thank you once again for joining me this week. I'm going to be talking about a book by Dr. Richard Kaczynski called Perdurabo, The Life of Aleister Crowley, and it traces Crowley's life from his youth as one of the Plymouth Brethren to his life becoming one of the most notorious and influential magicians of his age. The name of this book is Perdurabo, means the one that endures. And this is from one of the Gospels, Matthew 24:13. He who endures to the end will be saved. And that was the motto that Crowley chose when he became a magician. So an interesting choice, but again, kind of hailing back to his upbringing in an evangelical Christian sect. Dr. Kaczynski is a thorough researcher and also a great storyteller. And although the book is long, more than 700 pages, it really was a thrill to read from start to finish. And in lots of spots, read more like an adventure novel than kind of a dry historical work. He does a fine job of giving us all of the details, the nuances of Crowley's twisty, turny journey through life. But he also gives us a decent portrait of who Crowley was as a person, and also puts the influence and legacy of his work in really good perspective as well. So just a delightful book all the way through. There are quite a few surprises for me in this book. I had the impression that Crowley dabbled in poetry, but it turns out that some of his contemporaries considered him to be the great British poet of his age. And I also knew that Crowley was a mountaineer, but I had no idea, again, that he was a serious and pioneering climber. He was the first Westerner to set foot on K2, the first to climb cliff walls that were thought to be unclimbable and that sort of thing. So he was very serious about that and very accomplished about that. Kaczynski doesn't shy away from presenting the unvarnished and sometimes ugly truths. For all of his genius, Crowley could be a dangerous person to be around, sometimes capricious and careless, and didn't seem to have a lot of regard for the health and safety of others. Sometimes seemed to kind of play fast and loose with the facts. I don't think I would have wanted to live next door to him or to have been in his circle maybe. But still, what comes through most on these pages is the genius of Crowley. Really stunning, majestic genius in a class with the greatest minds of the 19th and 20th centuries. And Kaczynski also debunks, but includes some of the oft-repeated stories and notions about Crowley that turn out to not be factual, or at least not be anything that could be documented. Even after reading this book, I still find a lot of things that Crowley did to be inexcusably selfish and destructive. But I think we can turn to another gospel verse here. He that is without sin, let him cast the first stone. We don't know what it was like to live inside that man's perspective. And so I don't think that we uh, can really judge. I don't think that we can excuse some of the things either, or try to pretend that they didn't happen. But I just think that it's easy for us to sit in judgment of others, and probably in a case like this especially, it's important to not do that. I think he got enough of that during his lifetime, and still gets enough of it today. I think also what appears to be a lack of empathy or compassion sometimes, or a lack of veracity sometimes too, on the part of Crowley, was really came from his single-minded devotion to his work. That was always the most important thing to him, and everything else, including relationships, his own physical health, his financial health, all of that stuff was like at a lower level of concern for him than was his work, and the great work, as the Thelemites call it. It is also fascinating to me that Crowley, on the one hand, clearly reveled in this image as this powerful, enigmatic, sometimes frightening figure who flaunted convention, and as Lon Milo Duquette says, specialized in freaking out the freak-outable. And yet, on the other hand, one of the few offenses that Crowley found worthy of legal action was when someone called him a black magician. Uh, and so it's this odd thing that he really courted this image of this dark lord, and yet at the same time pushed back against it at times in his life. I think, having read this book, I have a deeper and broader uh, understanding and appreciation for Crowley and for his work. The chapters about Lady Harris and the creation of the Thoth decks were especially interesting to me, because that was kind of my entree to any interest in Crowley, was that deck. I think, for all it can be said of him, good, bad, and ugly, he did endure, being true to his vision to the very end. And really, I guess in this life, that's all that we can ask of anybody. I would highly recommend this biography. Again, it is called Perdurabo, written by Richard Kaczynski. Uh, if you haven't read it yet, check it out. And if you have read it, I'd like to hear what you think too. You can either leave comments here with the video, or get in touch with me by popping out to the weblog at atarotjourney.com. Let's go to the table now for our tarot card reading for the week to come. Okay, the table is set and the cards have been shuffled for our tarot card reading for the week to come. We're going to be looking at the 4 dimensions of life, and the first card is the Devil. We're using the Thoth deck once again this week. So in the social emotional dimension, we have the 3 of Swords. Mental dimension, the 8 of Swords. And in the spiritual dimension, we have the Fortune card. So 2 majors and 2 pips from the suit of Swords this week. Kind of not the prettiest picture, but let's see how this goes. So in the physical dimension here, we have the Devil card. And this is the card of compulsions and just simply scratching the itch, just diving into things not very consciously. It's also the card of creative energy. But in this case, coming in the physical dimension, we can, I guess, look at this a couple ways. One is when it comes to financial matters, when it comes to physical health, and that sort of thing this week, we want to be conscious of what we're doing. I'm getting the sense that for somebody that this is about a financial issue, and it's about a purchase. May not even be a major purchase, but just something that, oh, I like that, I think I'll buy it. And we need to think. I'm not saying that we need to refrain from buying things in the coming week. Although there are people that are kind of doing no buy, low buy this entire year, which is an interesting thing to take a look at. But the point is not to just refrain from those sorts of financial activities, but to be conscious about it, to think, okay, is this something that I really want to be doing here? Or is it just scratching an itch like, oh, I want that, I'll buy it? Could also, though, be about creative energy applied to either finances or physical health. And so, and for that interpretation, it kind of seems intuitively here like it is about physical health. That if we've been following a certain routine as far as physical activities, we might want to kind of switch that up and bring some creativity into our activities this week, particularly if they have been feeling stale for us. We're 2 months into the year, and maybe what if we started with some sort of new regimen or program back in January, maybe kind of getting stale for us now. If we run or walk, maybe we'll want to just do something as simple as take the route backwards some this week. So anyway, that's something to think about. If any of this is resonating with you, I'd love to hear from you. And you can either comment here or visit the weblog and get my contact information there at atarotjourney.com. Moving over into the social emotional dimension, we have the Three of Swords, and this is the card of sorrows. It is about the primordial wounds of our lives, the things that evoke strong emotions, tears, that sort of thing. Lots of times it is about separation anxiety and, or the pain of loss, that sort of thing. Coming as this does in the social emotional dimension, I don't know the specifics of it, but we could be in for at least a feeling of melancholy, perhaps loss, perhaps because of a separation with someone that we're close to this week. We get up here into the mental dimension, and we have the Eight of Swords, and this is styled interference in the Thoth deck. And it is about having a blind spot. This is the card in the Rider deck where the person is blindfolded and they're surrounded by this kind of picket fence of swords, and they are imprisoned, but it's because they can't see clearly the path out because of the blindfold. And so it is, because of this, we have some misdirected energy. We're paying attention to things that are not important, and we're not spotting the stuff that is important. And we may also tend to just sort of chuck it all and give up and say, oh, well, I can't do anything here. We are giving up our agency because we can't see clearly what is going on. So coming in the mental dimension here, I would say that that what we ought to be doing this week is taking a step back, calming our minds, and trying to look at the big picture, not getting so obsessed by the minutia of something that we can't see the important things. We also might want to look at things from a fresh perspective, maybe get, talk things over with someone else as well and get their opinion and see if there is something that we're missing. I might in this have a tendency to go to someone that is really close to me and say, "Hey, here's what I'm looking at. Do I have a blind spot here? Is there something that I'm just completely missing?" You may be surprised at what they say. So anyway, that's the way I would approach this. Try to get more information. Try to look at the bigger picture, and particularly if we're trying to solve some kind of problem or issue, we may just need to get a fresh perspective and get that blindfold off so that we can proceed. And once the good news is, once that blindfold comes off, then the answers become really clear. So that's the way I would see this one. Again, if it's resonating with you, get in touch and we can talk about it. Okay, finally, up here in the spiritual dimension, we have the Fortune card. And this is about, usually is an auspicious card. It usually signals a turn in fortunes, and generally a turn in the right direction. It can be about the big karmic forces in our lives and kind of the destiny sort of moments. So we may be facing that sort of thing this week, where everything just kind of comes together in a way that we didn't expect. When I see this card, and particularly coming here in the spiritual dimension as it does, the main message that I usually take from it is that with all of the ups and downs, with all of the changes in life, we need to not be attached to things staying the way they are. They're always in flux in what we experience as material reality. Things are always changing. We may fool ourselves pretty well into thinking that they're not, but they are indeed always changing. That is just the conditions of our lives in this material world. And so if we attach our happiness to something external, something that is going to change, then we're in for a rough ride. If we can find that still point in the center of the wheel where it is constant, that part of us that is perfect and eternal and beautiful and true, then the stuff that's spinning around on the outside does not affect us quite so much, at least in the negative aspects of it. And so this week, if you have a meditation practice or some sort of spiritual practice that you can lean on, it would be a good idea to spend a little extra time in those sorts of activities this week, to try to get our minds calm, to try to get to the center, get to that part of us that is unchanging and eternal, and is participating in life, but is not attached and bound up to everything that is going on around us. We'll be well served by that this week, and particularly, with this other card in the physical dimension, the other major, the devil, there, in the compulsions that we might have. I don't like this, so I'm going to push it away. Or, oh, I want that. We grab onto it. We will want to try to get to that still point in the center where there's some equanimity and all of that. Also, particularly with these troublesome swords cards in our way this week, we really want to spend some extra time getting quiet and finding that sense of equanimity and calm and serenity. That is the way that I would read these. I'd love to hear what you think. That will do it for this week's episode. Just a quick reminder, like this video before you leave if you would. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do. And don't forget to visit the weblog at atarotjourney.com. If you'd like to book a tarot reading with me, there's all kinds of information there about that as well. We will be back again soon, and in the meantime, as always, I wish you peace. Take care of yourself.